Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Hi, everybody. How y'all doing? Yeah, we're finally live here on Spaced Out Radio, and I apologize for everything that's kind of gone on. What happened was a couple of days ago we had to do I had to do a reboot after the show, a Microsoft update, and it absolutely kicked our audio out of StreamYard. So we tried it last night, thought we had it built back better, and that's when we noticed it. And obviously you guys saw on our YouTube side, our podcast side, you're not going to be able to hear it. Well, maybe you will, because that's why the audio sounded kind of choppy and everything. But we were able to get everything nice and smooth here for tonight, and it took about 2.5 hours in order for Chuck, our audio engineer, to get things up and running. And thank God he is a brilliant, brilliant man. So thank you, Chuck Contreras, who also owns one of our radio stations, KZFX, in Ridgecrest, California. So, let's see here. I was going to have Science Bob on, but I wasn't going to hold him on too long. So we're just going to have some fun tonight. That's all we're going to do. I wanted to get something in. I wanted to get a show in. You guys were waiting, and let's face it, I wanted to do a show. I like doing a show. So I'm going to skip roll call tonight, because tonight, for the next however long we are here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow you guys to ask any questions that you want about my personal experiences, about what's going on in the UFO world, and we're just going to have some fun tonight. Now, if you see me pausing on anything, or you have any issue, or you hear audio popping up, this is a test show we got to make sure our audio is popping up here momentarily, and in a second you're going to hear music kind of play back. So do me a favor, if you have any questions, put your questions in capital letters. I would greatly appreciate that, because it's so much easier for me to see. Hello, Cryptid Huntress. How are you? I will give you a call tomorrow. Yeah, I will. But hey, the main thing is we got something going. And that's all that really matters to me, is we got something going here, and we're able to make things work. And sometimes this is the life of technology, and it's also a good thing to have as many, how can I put it, as many recorded shows, excuse me, as we've had in the past, because that way I could just play other audio, and for our radio stations, I'll send them over a repeat show, and then we're able to survive everything along those lines, which is always really good. Hold on. Thunder. Feel the thunder. Lightning and the thunder. Thank you, Big Dog, for that super chat. All right, let's just start off the questions here. Big Dog wondering, and thank you, Big Dog, for the lovely super chat. What is the big goal for the rest of 2025? Show-wise, it is going to be expanding our broadcast horizons. We have a couple people who are working on radio stations for us. We're trying to get into more markets as we speak. And let's see here. That's the big goal, is to really concentrate on getting into more stations, getting into more areas for listenership. We have to try and improve our YouTube status, which is something we're going to talk about tonight a little bit, because I want you guys to know this. As well as we're going to be trying to, I don't know, just see how big we could take it. We're going to probably add more sponsors as time goes on. I do have a new sponsor that I'm going to be introducing. I was going to introduce tonight, but due to the technical difficulties, we obviously couldn't. Yeah, obviously couldn't. So, tonight is a very, very important night in my life, if you don't mind me saying. But I'll get to a couple questions here first. Let me just get caught up here. Okay, there's a question there. I show a lot of love for the East Coast. Whoop-oo. Have I had any alien encounters in 2025? No, I have not. Not that I know of. I think there may have been one. Yeah, Nicole was awesome last night. You're right. All right. Hey, Jess, if you want to join us, you can. Let me know. Who has more power, White Witch or Black Witch? I have no idea. No idea. I would say the White Witch, because good always beats out evil. Oh, I can't use that one because Jack swears. Shit. Bear with me. There we go. All right, let's use that one. So tonight is a little bit of a special night because at this time 11 years ago, it'll be 11 years since I had my UFO landing encounter. Yeah. My UFO landing encounter happened 11 years ago. So I'm going to tell this story kind of the way it broke down that night. I was working at my daytime job, and about 6:30, 7 o'clock that night, I started getting a migraine, and I could feel it coming on. And then as I was driving home, and I was late coming home from work, my partner was at a friend's house way up in the mountains of where I lived in Mission, British Columbia at that time. And the entire way there, seeing headlights come at me from the opposite side of the highway and the city lights, my eyes were just going crazy. And the migraine kept getting worse and worse as I was kind of going on the road all the way home. And it was a 35-minute drive, 39 minutes and 50 seconds, if you wanted to be exact, from the doorstep of my work to myself getting on home. Anyways, I met my partner, and our son was about, a year old at that time? Hold on, let me think here. He was 10 months old. And I arrive at my friend's house, and I just walked straight to their couch. I said I am having a migraine, and I was not feeling very well. And my partner asked if I wanted to go home that night because obviously I was not feeling very good. And, usually when I get a migraine, I have to go sit in a dark, hot shower, put a washcloth over my head, and just, wish the pain away. And that was really the only thing that really worked for me. But this time I said, no, I'm going to stick around here, see if it goes away. I'll give it about half an hour. And if it doesn't, I'll go home and hit the shower. So as I'm sitting on their couch, I got a pillow over my eyes to block out the light. And I'm just kind of relaxing on sitting up on their couch, because if I lay down and put my head down, that's going to make life a little bit more painful, which is what we don't want. And from there, I started realizing after a few minutes that it was actually shapes pulsating in my head. And it kind of sucked because I didn't really understand what was going on. And it started off with a square right here that was pulsating. Then it moved to the right side of my head where it was a it was a triangle, and then moved to the left side of my head, which was a circle. And as soon as the pain started subsiding, I all of a sudden jumped up and said, I need to go outside. I need to go into your backyard. Now, these former friends of mine, they lived on a 10-acre acreage mini farm, hobby farm. Back in the day, it was a family-owned property, and back in the day, they would be able to, how can I put it? They would raise horses back then. Their property, there was only 2 houses on their street. The first property was their 10 acres. The second property was an elderly couple that had 6.5 acres. And both properties were like horseshoed with forest. And I'd been in that forest before, and it was kind of cool. But this night was going to be a little bit different. So as I kind of jump up and say, I got to go outside, there's something out there, I'm being called outside, my partner says to me, can I go with you? And I said, no, you need to stay inside with the boy. And then the lady of the house, who I have absolutely no use for anymore, she says, can I come? I said, yes, you need to come with me. So she talks to her hubby at the time. They're now broken up for a number of years now. And she says, Dave is getting something outside. We need to go outside. And I looked at her and I said, he can't come. He's not invited. I still do not know why I said he wasn't invited. Okay, but that was a little bit strange for me. We quickly got our shoes on, went out the front door, walked around the side of the house. And if you live in Washington State, Oregon, British Columbia, or even, I guess, on the East Coast, you understand what I'm going to say is you get a lot of dreary nights with low cloud, a lot of dew that, not light rain, almost like a mist coming down. And we went outside, we walked to the back of the house, and about 50 feet behind the house there was an old 2x10 horse fence. And I thought, okay, let's just stand here. You could feel the energy of something around. It was just, you could cut it with a knife. The energy was so thick. From there, the lady looked at me and I said, well, what do you think? She goes, well, talk to them because they called you outside, see what they want. I didn't know what to say, but I said the first thing that came to my mind. I said, out of God's peace, love, and light, you called me outside. Can you show me where you are? And as soon as I said that, boom, the lights from the neighbor's back field by the forest turned on. And it was the brightest white light I have ever seen at that point. And it was surreal. This light was shining right through the trees, and in between their property and the property we were standing on, there's about there's about 6 or 7 very large 60 to 70 foot trees that are right there, dividing the line along the fence line. And this white light is going right through them and right to the forest trees. I could still see it when I closed my eyes. I could still see the light shining off the trees, the big fir trees that were probably standing 80, 90 feet tall in the forest at the end of the farm. And we were just sitting there stunned. Now, this is where I want to kind of get into the skeptics out there. The majority of people who are experiencers are skeptics as well. We just don't fall for everything being woo. Okay? We don't. So my first inclination on everything is somebody out there with one of those 100,000 or million candle watt flashlights shining it through the trees. And then I thought, well, how would they have turned it on my command? Because there's no way they could have heard me speaking from about 150 yards away. And I'm sitting there standing thinking about all of this. And in the white light where it's emanating from, I'm looking for movement. I'm listening for sound. Are people laughing? Are people talking? Is there music playing? Like, I went through every scenario I could possibly go through in my head. And none of it was adding up. None of it. So I realized that this is something strange. Then the light went out after about 30 seconds. My friend says, "Holy cow," in much more colorful language. And I'm pretty much the same way, saying the same thing. I'm like, I said, "What the hell is that?" And she's like, "I have no idea." She goes, "Do you want to go over there?" I'm like, "Hell no, we're not going over there." She goes, "Well, see if they'll turn their light on again." So I said, "Out of God's peace, love, and light, if you are of alien descent, can you please turn your lights on again?" Boom. The lights come back on. This time the bright white light is shinier through the trees. It's brighter. It's spreading all around. And I'm trying to figure out still, the skeptic in me is trying to figure out still what is causing this light. What is causing it? Why is it there? So I move a little bit over to my right, about 15, 20 feet. And I get past the trees and I start seeing something blue. And that's where I saw this blue cylinder standing vertically where the white light was emanating from the bottom of it. And the blue, to describe the blue on the cylinder, the closest that I've been able to come up with is the emergency blue light that you see on a police car. And except the difference is this is a little darker. It's bright, but not as bright as a police car. And this cylinder, measuring it to the trees that are in between it and us, it's probably standing 20 to 30 feet high. And there is this black cloud. I don't know how else to describe it outside of a black cloud. And it is rotating counterclockwise. Okay? It's rotating counterclockwise at the bottom of it. And then that counterclockwise would go like halfway up, and then it would make its way back down. So once that happened, and the lights went off after about 30 seconds again, I went, holy shit. I did. And my friend literally says to me, let's go over there. I said, we're not going over there. And one second here, getting a text message from Lori and Fenton. And my friend says, well, I'm going to go over there. And I said, you are not going over there. I was petrified. I was now petrified because we didn't know what it was. This thing's communicating with me. We didn't know what it was. And she's like, I'm going to go over there. Go look at it. See it up close and personal. I said, you're going to stay right here with me. She's like, well, what's the worst could happen? I said, that whatever that is, if that's alien, that thing could take you. And I said, I am not going back into your home alone because I am suspect number one if something happens to you. Like, I was panicking. I was literally having a panic attack. And anyways, she stays with me, thank goodness. Hi, Aussie Ange. How are you? And she goes, well, see if they'll turn their lights on one more time. So I said, just so I know I'm not crazy, out of God's peace, love, and light, can you please turn your lights on one final time? Boom. The lights come back on. They're just as bright through the trees. I'm looking at the blue cylinder, and I'm just taking it in at this point. I'm taking it in. And looking back, I wish I would have had the balls to actually go up there a little bit closer to get a better look. I was saying it verbally. Yeah, just like I'm talking to you. Same volume that I'm talking to you guys. And after about 30 seconds, the lights turned back off for good. But they didn't turn off for good. That's the interesting part. They started pulsating. Like somebody had a light switch and they were turning on and then off. On and then off. On and then off. And this was going on about 9-10 times before the lights went off for good. Now, prior to this, you know those little flashers you have in the sky, everybody sees them, where it's a couple hours after sunset where the satellites are not supposed to be seen because of the Earth's curvature? No, the Earth is not flat. Okay? And you know, they say after 2.5 hours after sunset, you should be able to, there shouldn't be any satellites showing off light in the sky. Well, we used to get a lot of these flashers over top of the house where we lived. And this would happen almost every night. And, you know, a lot of time you see them off in the distance, but for some reason this kept happening over top of our house. And I always thought it was satellites. I really did. Then I found out satellites don't have lights. And then the way this thing was turning its lights on and off, it was like it was showing me, remember all those times, like the feeling I got is it was telling me, remember all those times you're sitting outside your house and you see those flashes? That was us. Do I have proof of that? No. Does it make the story sound a little bit more romantic? Maybe. But that's literally what I felt. Okay? Like there was something romantic about it. So we waited after the lights went out for the final time. We waited around, and I tried say, "Come on, guys, one more time, if you don't mind, just one more time. Can we please do this one more time?" Nothing. So after about 5-10 minutes of trying, we turned to go back to the house, and the lady who I'm with looks up at the cloud behind on the opposite of where the craft was, and she sees this giant orange orb jutting out of the low clouds, the low misty clouds. And then it pulled itself in. And then as it started to fade off, there was, like, if you remember the white light I was just telling you about, there was this shot almost like a lightning bolt. Not lightning bolt, like a sheet lightning, right through the clouds, and everything was quiet. There was no noise whatsoever. We did not ask or we did not hear any noise. We did not feel any noise. We didn't feel any vibration or anything acoustic whatsoever. This was just gone. The craft was gone. The feeling of them were gone. Everything was gone. And that was 10 years ago, or 11 years ago tonight. So it's a big anniversary for us tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Because what I went through after, I wasn't doing this show. This show would come 6.5 months, 7.5 months later. I would end up staying up until all hours of the night trying to figure out what the hell it was that we saw. And nothing ever added up. I was watching every UFO documentary I could find. I was looking at books. I'd go to our local bookstore and try and find something that looked like a blue cylinder. And nothing I ever saw looked like a blue cylinder. It looked like black triangles. It looked like flying saucers. It looked like disc shape. It looked like boomerangs, but nothing about giant 30-foot tall blue rods. That just never happened. And it really, really played with my mind. It really played with my mind because I couldn't find it. And you see, that's actually the precipice of me starting Spaced Out Radio, because everything that kind of happened to me, I never, how can I put it? I was never able to find exactly what happened to me. Something was always a little bit off. The black triangle that we saw, the first black triangle I saw, it wasn't just the 3-corner lights. The entire undercarriage was lit up. And this came half an hour after we saw, and it's funny because I believe it was Jake Barber was just talking about these barbell type of UFOs that they saw. That's what I saw. Yeah. That's what I saw. I'm going to continue this story. I know all the time. Take a quick break here. Right back.
This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott.
Be right back. Black triangle next. Oob, remind me. All right. I am back. So, thank you, Kira, for the lovely super chat along with Big Dog. Greatly appreciate the love tonight. So, getting back to the black triangles. Thanks for reminding me, Joe. Okay. How long do we have until the music pops back on? The music's going to pop back on here in a couple of seconds. So, about a minute and a half. But the black triangle I saw, had all of these silver orbs connected to these orange rods. And it was a little ridiculous because we didn't expect that to happen. And when we talk about summoning UFOs, thank you, Dry Toast, for the super chat. Greatly appreciate it. When we talk about summoning, or now the fancy word psionics, okay, this is something that I have done. I'm very passionate about it. I really am. And this is probably why I'm a little emotional in my voice and my attitude towards Skywatcher as they change the name to psionics, number one. But number two, the fact that they're, in my opinion, and I could be wrong here, okay? But in my opinion, they haven't acknowledged that people have been doing this for a long time. And I know I've done it. That night, and here's the weird story about the black triangle that I'll get down to here in just a few minutes. I just want to test the audio here, guys. 1 second. Here we go. All right. So the black triangle thing, that was a situation that was extremely weird. Because I remember a good friend of mine at the time, he stopped by work and I said, "Hey, what are you doing tonight with your wife?" And he goes, "I don't know, no plans." "Why?" I said, "Do you guys want to come on over? I think there's going to be some UFOs in the sky." He goes, "How do you know?" I said, "I don't. I just got this weird feeling that we're going to see some UFOs in the sky." And he went, "Yeah, okay, we'll come over." I said, "Okay, I'll pick up some beer and we'll have a beer and we'll watch the UFOs." So it was about 9:30 at night when we saw the first one. And that was coming out of the southeast, flying northwest. We saw it for about 15 seconds in the sky, and it just beelined it in a straight line. And it wasn't high up like a satellite. This was like airplane level. And we watched this orange rod connected by two silver orbs looking like a dumbbell come ripping across the sky. No missing time, Ange. And so my friends were like, "Holy cow, how did you know that was going to happen?" And I said, "I don't know. I just knew that we were going to see something tonight." And then I said, "Here's the thing. I don't think we're done yet. I think we're going to see some more." And it was about half an hour later, I was drinking my beer and I was kind of tilting my head with the bottle, and something caught my attention above the house. And we're standing on my back patio. And I literally said, "What the fuck is that?" Just like that. And he goes, "What?" And I pointed up, "What the fuck is that?" Pardon my language. And he goes, "Oh my God, what is that?" His wife started freaking the hell out. And there was over top of my house. I don't know how high it was, but it was pretty low. There was no sound whatsoever. And this black triangle was over top of our house. And literally, it was floating, just floating. And the entire undercarriage was these silver orbs connected by orange rods, pardon me. And this went front to back. It wasn't just the corners lit up with one bar going down, to outline the triangle. Like if you took a set of 10 bowling pins and put it underneath, that's what it would look like. Not like bowling pins, but just the setup of the bowling pins. Okay? And there it was. And we watched it fly north silently until it vanished. It was like a door opened in the sky, and as it flew in, you saw the front part of it disappear until the entire craft was gone. It was like it flew right through a door. And this is springtime. So this is kind of why I'm a little passionate about the psionics aspect and the changing of the name and to psionics and the changing of craft name and everything. I don't like that. Okay? I don't like it whatsoever. I think that it is so against everything that I have personally experienced that I almost feel that my stories personally, and for maybe other experiencers as well, is that they are not being validated by the way that they are changing the names. Now, I understand people like Science Bob or even Rob G who sit here and say, you know what, changing the names of things is good sometimes. It brings more popularity. It takes away stigma. I get that, and I can appreciate that. But what I don't like is the fact that you take Skywatcher, for instance. Okay. Before I say that, the reason why I'm swearing tonight is because this is not going out on the radio. Okay, so I could be a little bit more loose with my language. This is just going into podcast form and on YouTube. It's not going out to radio. So, long story short, getting back to the whole psionics aspect of everything, okay, what bugs me about it is the fact that groups like Skywatcher are not acknowledging that this phenomena of summoning UFOs has gone on in the past. They're not doing that whatsoever. And I think that is a complete travesty. Okay, it's nothing against Skywatcher. It's nothing against any of these groups. I don't have a beef with Jake Barber or John Blitch or anybody like that who is involved. I don't at all. Okay, but what I do have a beef with is when you change the names and you try and make it your own, it's almost like you're taking credit for it, that they are trying to take credit for it. And that's what bugs me about it. Okay? That's what bugs me about it a lot. And maybe I shouldn't take it so personally, but I do. I take it very personally because as an experiencer, I want answers. All right? I want answers to what I've experienced. That's why I started this radio show. On a selfish note, I started it because I couldn't find the answers, okay, to what we're going through. Fred Baker will not come on this show. No whistleblower will come on this show. They are being controlled right now. I'd love to, Stargazer, but they are not acknowledging ufology, which I am a part of. I had tacos for dinner again tonight with hot sauce. So anyways, that is what I am experiencing. And that is the reason why I am the way I am right now. Because I really do not like the way this is playing out. And I think we are all getting screwed by these new fancy groups that are out there trying to take over what we were doing. Kira, no, I have not. Kira got me 2 hot sauces in San Francisco. I have not opened those up yet. Kira, if you saw how many hot sauce bottles I have open in my fridge right now, I'm trying to get rid of those. I've got about 15 hot sauce bottles on the go right now. Trust me, I look forward to digging down. I'm probably going to open them soon. But I was in a hurry tonight, and I just grabbed a hot sauce. And it was a good one. It went down with a little bit of zing. That's what I like, a little bit of zing. Yeah, I'm a hot sauce-aholic. I really am. So this is where I get confused with everything, and I want to know how you feel, guys. Put it in the chat room. If you're on YouTube, put it in the chat room. How do you feel about this? Do you feel that they are whitewashing our topics? I love wasabi. J Truth Seeker. When I go out for California rolls, I always get double the wasabi. Wasabi has that sting to it. I'm addicted to that sting. Like when you first get it on your tongue and it stings. Oh, I love that feeling. I don't know why I love that feeling, but I do. But getting back to what I was saying, guys, about the summoning. I just don't want to feel ripped off. Joe says, I don't understand why Dave doesn't have 1 million listeners. I want to know that too. I do. You know what's funny is I get a lot of people saying, you're on too late. You're on too late. That's why I can't listen. You're on too late. I have to catch the podcast. Why can't you be on earlier? Well, let me tell you what happened to me when I got back from San Francisco. I walk in my daytime office, and one of the first things my boss says to me is, ownership has changed the store hours. We're now open till 6 p.m. So here's one of the reasons why we broadcast when we do. Okay? I broadcast at night because if I broadcasted any earlier, I would never see my family. I'd never get to spend time with my kids. Okay, so let's take today for instance. I was out of the my alarm went off at 7 o'clock. I slept through my alarm until 8:10. Hopped in the shower and was out of the shower about 8:30. No, I crawled out of bed about 8:15. I was out of the shower by 8:32. Getting for work, left for work at 8:47. Got to work for 9 o'clock. And then worked until 6 o'clock. Had to go to my chiropractor. Get home about 6:45. Eat dinner. I've been in my studio. I got changed. I've been in my studio since 7:20 tonight. I saw my son for about 25 minutes tonight. That's why I broadcast at night. Now, on days that I do not have chiropractor, which I go Tuesdays and Thursdays, I get an hour and a half with him. No, less now because of the work hours. I get about an hour and 15 minutes with my son every night. That is not enough. He does not deserve that. So that is my life right now. And that's why I'm working to change that. All right. So that is why we broadcast at 9 o'clock at night. And you know what? I know people will listen because Coast to Coast AM gets about 9 million listeners a night. George Norrie gets about 9 million listeners across North America per night. That's why he's the best. So, people will listen. We just got to get more outlets for them to listen to and improve our social media, which is what we're working on. Let's get to some of your questions. Vaughn wants to know, have you had any recent Bigfoot experiences and how do you feel when you make contact? Good question. So, I have not had any recent experiences since last year. And that is because the snow is melting in our Bigfoot areas. I may go check it out this weekend in between time when I'm doing my presentation for the Nebraska Bigfoot Conference. And so my project is going to be starting in May. That's what's going to be fun. It's doing that. I'm scared as hell about that. And when contact is made with them, everything, okay, for people who haven't had an experience, you might not understand what I'm going to say. But everything has an energy pattern. For instance, ghosts are very heavy. You know, it feels like you're carrying heavy weight on your shoulder. Okay? It feels like you got a big bag of sand on your shoulders and you're carrying them. And you kind of feel down and you feel heavy and not a lot of energy. That's what ghosts feel like. Sasquatch, well, let's go to UFOs for a second because we're talking Sasquatch. UFOs and ET encounters are like high energy, like you're in the greatest. You have the energy like you're the greatest party of your life, like everything is like fast and giddy, and you're waiting for something to happen, and you may not see anything, but you could feel the energy, like you're pumped up, almost like get ready for Christmas Day, like Christmas Eve. You're all excited because tomorrow morning is Christmas. You're going to open up all your presents. It's kind of what UFOs and alien encounters feel like. Unless the aliens have dropped you off, and then you feel fear. Then, from there, you get Bigfoot. Bigfoot is kind of like curious energy. The goosebumps go up in your arms when they're around. You feel kind of like you're not alone, that you're being watched, but you can't figure out what's watching you or where it's watching you from. And then you start hearing little noises of movement. And that's where I've recently recognized the thud thud. Kind of like two heavy stomps on the ground. That's cool. That is very cool when that happens. And then at the end of the night, you kind of get this feeling that it is time to go. That danger is just around the corner. And that's what Sasquatch feels like. Now, I think I've been around Dogman energy. I don't know how else to explain it, but when I've explained it to people who've had Dogman encounters, they say that it is very much what I describe. And that is an absolute fear that you should not be in that area. And that they are watching you. And you feel like at any time something could pounce out from behind a fence or behind the trees or whatever and come get you. Grantavius the Mustache. How's that lip blade, buddy? How's the lip blade? Give us an update, please. I need a lip blade update. Bet you it's tight. There's no way he's clean shaven right now. No way. God, it's good to see him. I got to call you, bud. I was just thinking about you yesterday, too. God, I love Grantavius. Hi, Nicole Sakic. But that's what it feels like. All right, let's get to another question here. Algaray over on Twitch, who literally bench pressed 500 pounds worth of coaxial cable to send it over to the studio tonight, did it 37 times in 3 minutes. Have you had any alien encounters 2025? The answer, I think I may have had one, but I'm not sure. I woke up feeling weird, which is usually when I think something happened, but I have zero recall out of it besides that feeling. Let's go to Jerry Carter. Will your new coffee table book be an autobiography or UFO stories? When I finally get around to finishing it, it will be all about an autobiography about my experiences. I will. I promise you, I will start working on that. Let me get through the next month and a half here, and then I'll start working on it. Let's go to Doubleday. How about having a UFO community with ties to the military? This is actually a really good question, because when I came up in the field and I got to know people like Lorian Fenton and Grant Cameron and Melinda Leslie and Misha Johnson and all of this, lack of a better term, old UFO crew, they all forewarned me about the government agents, saying that when you hear a guy, and at that time it really was only Rick Doty who was speaking on this, and they always said, don't trust a spook. Remember, a spook will never do you any good in this field. Don't trust a spook. And now you look at it, and all the Spook Nation is trying to play the Trust Me Bro game. And I think that is something that is dangerous for ufology. I really do. I really do. I don't like it. It doesn't feel right. And look what they're doing. Changing the names, saying ufology must die, changing all the wordage, making it their own, and eliminating the history of ufology.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
Give me 1 sec here. There we go. That's all done. Scared the shit out of me too, man. Hey, there's gorgeous Kim Jellin in her perfect teeth. Let's go to another question. Paramarv is asking, in your opinion, who or what is the greatest single impediment to disclosure or confirmation that so many are looking for? The United States Pentagon and the United States government. That's it. And, of course, there are many branches to that. Many, many branches to that. Okay, you have the branch that doesn't want this to come out. You have the contractors that don't want this to come out because they want the toys for themselves. You have to realize, and I've said this before on the show, Paramarv, so I know you've heard it. There are a lot of issues that surround disclosure. A lot of issues. Roswell, any other crash site, crash retrieval, the military-industrial complex, what happens to the economy, what happens to religion, what happens to free energy. You're going to, let's say they released free energy. Aliens come in, disclosures here, we have free energy, we're going to disperse this all around the world. You now have probably, directly and indirectly, up to 5 million people in North America alone that will lose their job. Gorgeous Kim Jellin. That conversation that you left, it continued. I'll get to that in a second. Let me finish this question first. So, there's a lot of fragments to what the government and the Pentagon are holding back. And that is the reason why we will not get disclosure. It doesn't matter how many videos Jeremy Corbell puts out. It doesn't matter how many psionics videos Skywatcher puts out. It doesn't matter what Gary Nolan and the scientists have to say. Okay? They're not going to give up the primary focus, which is keeping this from the world public. Never mind the American public, but the world public. That's my answer, at least. Another question. Let's go to Aussie Ange. Do you get telepathic messages at all from entities? Just UFOs when I'm summoning them. Sometimes when I'm ghost hunting, I'll get messages. That's about it. George is asking, hey, Falky, do dogmen eat people? We've heard reports that they get close to attacking people. Some people claim that there have been attacks. That's more a lot of creepypasta. I've never heard of it, but I'm not saying it hasn't happened. Pardon me. Sorry, this just popped in my head. Apparently, the LBL attack, the Land Between the Lakes attack, where a few people, like a family, got eaten to death by the dogmen. That's the only one that I know of. Let's go to Tony in the UK. I've heard that YouTube platforms is the second biggest search platform. Can't help but think of how much further we'd be down the line if the algorithms were doing the job properly. This is actually a very, very big question or comment that you made, Tony. Okay. Let's see here. And let me explain this a little bit. Martin Willis from Podcast UFO, him and I had a conversation. Now, Martin has, I think, around 50,000 subscribers on YouTube. He was averaging between 10,000 and 30,000 hits per episode. And we started talking about YouTube. And YouTube seems to be shadow banning UFO type shows and podcasts alike. Before him and I talked about it, hold on. We're going to come back here with the music. Hold on. YouTube. Okay, so here is the point that everybody seems to be getting at right now if you're broadcasting about these stories. Okay. Martin's listenership, for instance, has gone down at minimum a half. Ours has gone down a minimum of half. Like you take right now on YouTube, we have 135 people watching. 2 years ago, we were over 300 a night. 300 live, and our shows were being downloaded 2,000 to 3,000 or viewed at least 2,000 to 3,000 times on YouTube. Our downloads on the podcast were between 60 and 90,000 per episode. Now we're lucky to get around 150 live every night. Many of our subscribers feel that they are not getting the messages or the responses that the show is going on live. Martin has talked to a couple of little bit bigger UFO channels than his, which would definitely be bigger than ours. And they have actually contacted YouTube about this. Carl Crusher even contacted YouTube about this. And YouTube is claiming that the algorithms are not cheating the subject. So what we do see on the background and talking to some people who are much more well-versed in YouTube than I am, what we're seeing apparently is their focus on larger channels. The channels that are already 1 million plus subscribers putting out content that everybody from an 8-year-old to a 70-year-old could watch. I mean, you look at channels, whether it's Logan Paul or Mr. Beast or PewDiePie or many others. Okay, their channels keep growing exponentially. You know, they're getting like a person a minute subscribing. We're getting about 3 a day on average. Sometimes 1, sometimes 6. And the 1 outweigh the 6. And somebody said it in the chat room as well, there is an oversaturation as the younger generation starts learning about UFOs/UAP. They are starting podcasts, and they are much more understanding of how algorithms work. So it is heavily diluting audience listener time. And I mean, I have friends of mine. I mean, if you want to get into a pet peeve, I have friends of mine who will go on the air at the exact same time as us. And, you know, it doesn't sound like much, but if they take 15, 20 of your live listeners per night, that's a lot of people. And it adds up. I can show you something right here. And this is probably a little too personal. Let me just find it here. So, give me an example. I'll zoom in here for a second. I realize economics has a lot to do with it, okay? All right, but I just want to show you something. I write down, see this notepad here? I write down every super chatter that we have. Okay, I'm sure you see me doing that per night. So, this is what my book looked like. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 shows. That's pretty full. And a lot of super chatters right there. If I go to you today, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I can put 8 shows on a page, and you'll see that some of them are one lines. Now, I show you this not to say, hey, why the hell aren't you super chatting me? That's not why I'm saying that whatsoever. I realize, and I'm smart enough to know because of my finance background, that the economy is absolutely horrible right now. Okay? But people, okay, I mean, there are people here who I literally helped put on the map that are now trying to put shows on the exact same time I am. They didn't know a microphone from a doorknob, and I mean that politely, until we started putting them on the air. And they got popular over it and started their own shows. And when they asked for my help, the only thing I asked for was, don't compete. We all have the same audience. I'm not going to compete with you, and you're not going to compete with me. Well, it's like the old Eisenhower alien story. You could take 60,000 people, but then they started taking more. And look, I can't sit here and say anything about it either. Because in the end, you, the audience, can listen to whoever you like. If I have a guest that you don't like and one of these people who I've trained is competing with me at the same time slot, then you're going to go over there and listen because it's a more interesting, entertaining topic for you. So I can't sit here and bitch and moan and complain, oh, where's my audience going? Right? I can't. But I know who's over there. Yeah. Right? So you're always competing, and when you're competing, and Martin Willis and I had a good talk about this, and we're going to be talking about it here very soon. Okay? We need to, as a UFO community, need to start coming together more instead of trying to individualize everything. And Mel Rose, you're exactly right. No one has one specific audience. You don't. That's the beauty of radio, is that it changes every day. And every day you are having to reintroduce what you were doing. We have a plan coming up that we're going to try out and see if it works. And where's that comment? It was a good comment. Hold on. Where is it? Runa says, there have been some new UFO content creators the last few years. Ross Coulthart, Jesse Michaels, maybe diverting some of the listeners. There's only so much time in the day. And you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Oh, look at Patty Crown. Oh, my God, I found you. Isn't this man, Dave, handsomely wonderful? Oh, you're making me blush right now. Look at that. I'm even going to put you on the screen. It's all in the beard. Right there. That's where it is. All in the beard. Thank you, Patty, and welcome to our chat room. So, that's what it's all about. You know, and you cannot, whatever you do, you cannot complain. That's why I don't bitch about seeing our listeners in another chat room or donating in another chat room. But like, I'll give you an example. We have listeners who have never ever super chatted in this chat room once, and yet you see them in all the other chat rooms super chatting. Do I care? No, because that show deserves the love too. Everybody deserves the love. To me, a super chat is bonus. Whoever, like tonight, we've got Big Dog, Kira, and Dry Toast. I'm extremely thankful, and I don't care if you're donating, like FAP, for instance. You know, he donated like $300 one night. Blew me away. Didn't have to do that. Actually brought tears to my eyes. Okay? He started a super chat war. And it got stupid. It got real stupid. And I don't care if somebody, to me, a thumbs up is just as important as a 99-cent super chat, which is just as important as a $100 super chat or more. Okay? It's just as important. And that's what means the most to me, is when we get that thumbs up or somebody shares the show or whatever. And speaking of super chats, Jeff Steve Garvey super chatting. You know what? If you go up to Jeff, he'll hit a home run for you. He promises. He'll hit a home run for you. And thank you, Adam. Adam, where are you? Where in this great country are you? Right? And trust me when I say that, I am very, very thankful for anybody who would think that this show is worth $5 or $10 or whatever. That is just like, oh my God, incredible. It really is. And that's why, like during the show, I try and type out a message to everybody. Do we need drama? I'm trying to stir it up, Ian. I agree. We need a little bit more controversy because it feels so empty without me. One of my friends on YouTube got told that he should drop the UFO content and go back to Orbeez videos. Seeing how many Orbeez that you could put in a gas canister or in a swimming pool or whatever. right? But I mean, the whole medium has grown so much. And if you don't have the proper camera, and now the big thing is interviewing people in studio. Well, 99% of us don't have the budget to be flying in, your guests in order to do that. I've never done a show on the Zone of Silence. Witchy, how are you? So, let's see if there's Aussie Ange. Thank you for the love. Aussie Ange, happy to see you. Portal Cat channel, that's right. All right, do I have any more questions here? Let's go to Gorgeous Kim Jellin. What about ex-CIA guys? Love them or leave them? Both. You got to do both. You always take a grain of salt in what they were saying. Because they will often leave things out that you want or need to know. Or they will tell you to make you feel good that you are right. You are right. It makes you feel good. You get the endorphins going. Use your discernment. Shelley is asking, Darling Dave, your thoughts do not matter what they call or classify our company. Won't change the fact that we have company, regardless what they or it turns out to be. Well, here's the thing with the name changes, once again. It does matter. It does matter. And here's the reason why it matters. Because they, the new wave of you apologists, or as Nicole likes to call them, my favorite, 2017s, they are trying to eliminate the great history of ufology. They are trying to take away the work of people who have been around this game for decades and make them look like lunatics, that they shouldn't be trusted. They are trying to put blame that disclosure hasn't happened because of people who are going around trying to bring this to the public's attention. That's why it matters. The new wave really doesn't care about the history because their history, as far as they know, their Bible is like the New Testament. We're Old Testament people. The New Testament began in 2004 with the Nimitz incident, which came out in 2017. And that's where I have a problem with all the name changes. They're trying to camouflage it that this is good for ufology. Changing the names is going to get rid of a lot of the stigma. No, you know what helps carry the stigma is denial of the past. That's where the changes happen. Anyways, we're going to go on for about another 7 minutes here. And that's when we're going to call it the night. Because I'm going to use this opportunity to go get some sleep. Yeah. Dave's going to get at least 6.5 hours tonight. I'm excited about it. I'm excited. I was going to have Science Bob back on tonight, but I needed to change that because of the audio issue. So if you have a few more questions that you want to ask, put them in capital letters. I will get to them. Leacham is asking, do you think all the talk of the supposed events in 2027 and further won't become some grand disclosure, but a short of smaller interpersonal contact, spiritual awakening, for lack of a better term? Here's what I think. I'm not going to say that isn't going to happen because I don't know the future. But I will say this. I think, point blank, that we are going to see where this subject is going to take off is when our children under the age of 20, maybe let's say 25 now. Oh, thank you, Anita. I think that these children who are coming into this world, who are more like indigo children than any time we've ever seen. They are so open to possibility and spirituality and love and supporting people. Now, this isn't woke, okay? You know how anti-woke I am, all right? But this new younger generation of children, they are more spiritually gifted than what we've ever seen. They are not blocked by religion. They are not blocked by family belief, tradition. They are investigators. They are smart. I look at my 11-year-old son. That kid can edit the piss out of a video, man. He really can. And I look at all of this, and I think what they're waiting for is a bunch of dinosaurs to die off. That 60 and above crowd, and I'm close to that. I'm only 8.5 years away. 8.25 years away. 8 1/8 years away. But I think they are waiting for the dinosaurs to die off before they start making a valiant push. That's what I think. And so, as we move the ball forward on that, it's going to become a lot more open for them to talk about the subject. And with that subject, it's going to be easier to all of a sudden talk disclosure, talk about human experiences, talk about everything that needs to be discussed. And I think that younger generation, like my son is 11, I think when he's 25 to 45, I think those are going to be some very important discussions about what is going on. I really do. Let's go to Philip here. What's your thoughts on Bob Lazar and him telling the truth about Element 115 and gravity waves? I like Bob Lazar. I think he's telling the truth. I've had one conversation with him, but I'll tell you, I believe Jim Goodall. I believe Michael Schratt. And I believe that when Jim, as much time as he has spent with Bob, I believe when he says that Bob's telling the truth. And that's what I believe. Thank you, Shelley, for that awesome super chat. Nicole says, okay, Dave, we had Elizondo, then Grush, and now Barber. Filler peoples like Nell and Stratton. But who or what type of whistleblower informant is next? I am going to say, that's a good question. Oh, God, that's a good question. I'm going to have to think about that. I think what we're going to have is the next set of whistleblowers, we're going to see a bunch of the fillers again with the orb balls and Navy sightings and U.S. Air Force sightings. But I think the next wave will come in a couple years when we have people who come on and say, we've been taken by UFOs. And we have gone on flights with them. So on that note, I'm going to say goodnight to all of you. Thank you for this shortened version. I did want to get something on here after the long test, but I appreciate you guys tuning us in. Thank you. Tomorrow night on the show, we are going to have Debbie Solaris here. She is an ET contactee, galactic historian, interdimensional traveler. If you, she likes the galactic Akashic records too. Guys, we're in for a lot of frickin' woo tomorrow night. You want woo? We're delivering the woo, courtesy of Dirty Filth. And we're going to get things going. So I will see you all tomorrow night. And you guys have a good one, okay? Thank you tonight to Big Dog, Kira, Dry Toast, Jeff, Steve Garvey, Adam, Ozzy Ange, Anita, and Sensational Shelley for joining us. And don't forget, guys, there is still time to join us in Vegas, May 1st to 5th. Come meet Merle and I. Come meet Nicole. Come meet Random Guy. Come meet Melinda Leslie and Lorian Fenton and Jim Goodall and Josh Rutledge and Shane Hurd and his incredible beard. Thank you, Tony. Appreciate the love, my man. Really do. And if you want, come meet us. That's what we're there for. We're doing it for all of us, and we're doing it for you, too. And if you want to join us, you can. We're at the Orleans. We'll see you tomorrow night, everybody. Take care. Hey, everyone. Guess
Stay healthy, my friend.
you too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.